welcome to Nittany Game Week on Thanksgiving week. It's overtime for us to talk about the Rutgers victory, then move on to Michigan State. We've got some fan questions that we love to hear from the fans and keep them coming. And there's some good ones, some thought-provoking stuff that we're about to get to. So let's go right into the Rutgers game. We kind of called it, right? We said Scarlet Knights need to protect the football to stay in the game. But they also had a couple of holding penalties that kept them and pushed them back in the red zone and prevented them from getting to the end zone, which I'm not sure they would have got in there anyway. They haven't scored a touchdown at Beaver Stadium since they joined the Big Ten. But a 27-6 victory, somewhat comfortable. Jay, we'll start with you, your assessment on the offensive side of the ball and just the Rutgers victory.
I wouldn't say it was totally comfortable. It was a 13-6 game, pretty deep. But they got the turnovers they needed. I think Rutgers may have made a mistake by knocking Aller out of the game. And we'll talk about that on the show. I mean, the run game really changed with Prabula in there right off the first play, goes 39 yards.
The inopportune turnovers, because if Rutgers was going to win that game, they had to control the ball, eat the clock up, run it down, shorten the game, not turn it over. And when you have a chance to get 6, you got to get 6. You can't just get 3.
I'm going to elaborate on that, and obviously it's a matchup issue, right? When you're talking about what Drew Aller and the offense was doing against Rutgers, then what Bo Prabula and the offense did once he came in. And I've said a couple times this week, the Aller play was the most important play of the game, and certainly we are not advocating. We don't want anyone to get hurt. Never want to see an injury happen. Absolutely not. But they're trying to pick an offensive coordinator. And they're trying to figure out what to do at quarterback. And to get Bo Prabula extended time in a game that was still hanging in the balance was very, very meaningful for Bo Prabula, for the offensive coaches to see, and for any other potential candidates coming from outside of the program to see what Bo Prabula could do. And I think for Drew Aller to see as well. Because, look, everybody knows how talented Drew Aller is. But you don't carry stars with you as you go to practice and as you go through that. And you guys have seen it many times, Tom. You've seen highly recruited or highly touted people come, and you have to respond to that next level. Drew's been really good in the games that they've won, but at the elite level competition, he did not look ready. And obviously there's room for growth for every player. But,
the other thing is you talk with your players as you get ready, you have to get – Prabula is different than Drew. Yep. So, all week you prepare for Drew, and how much time do you really spend on Bo? And then he gets into the game, and you're like, oh, no, this is a totally different, group with him in there than with Drew. Yeah. So now, because he runs the ball, now all of a sudden lanes just aren't just for cars. Everybody's got to know where they've got to be.
And we saw Bo. I mean, the plan was for Coach Howell and Coach Sider to bring in Bo. He had a change of pace play earlier, but obviously I don't think the plan was to get him in the game, right, and play that kind of extended action. So, but these things happen, Jay. You got to see what your backup can do. They've had issues with the backups coming in and being productive, so I think this is a real positive sign to say that the quarterback position looks too deep.
Well, we didn't see him throw it. I mean, that's one thing. They threw one, and they didn't have to. So, depending on Aller's status, does he go out there and start the Michigan State game, play the whole game, or maybe he gets hurt again? But you're going to get in a situation where Bo is going to get in the game and have to throw, and then we'll see what he can do. Yeah, so I think that you can't be one-dimensional.
The other thing, too, Jay, that gets into this thing is how you game plan, how much you put into Drew and Bo, because they're two different type players. So now, do you have enough if...
And he did get a short field. Yes. One thing about Bo is the field position, we'll talk about this show, he got the ball on the plus side, across the 53 of the 4 series he was in the game, so that certainly helped.
It's a good thing for Penn State to have that, because now teams, as they prepare for you, they've got to spend extra time and figure, what if he's in the game compared to Drew? It creates some real problems.
Yeah, problems for the defensive team and some opportunities on the offensive side as far as play calling and what things that you can do. Real quickly, Tom, the defense, they've been excellent all year long. They continue to excel under Manny Diaz. Chop Robinson had himself a heck of a game before it was even over. You were texting me, it's like, Chop Robinson looks like he might be the scrap metal guy.
It wasn't hard to figure out.
For it.
But they're creating turnovers, and the offense is capitalizing on those turnovers, and that's the way it's been all year. And that's when, that's great, when you can get that done by doing what they're doing is creating the turnover and making short fields for the offense. And, when you get that going, that's hard to beat.
17 of the 27 points came off turnovers.
Yeah, that's been the winning formula all year long in their 9 victories, and they've done a great job with that. All right, so we got Michigan State coming up. It's at Ford Field. we're going to make you watch the scouting report for
Yeah.
that. For we're in overtime now, but Tom and Jay break down the Spartans and the scouting report for Nittany Game Week. That'll obviously be on the website. Tune into the show as our network of stations adjust their times already this week. So let's go right to the fan questions, and we'll start with Heather. NIL worries as the transfer portal starts up again. How much of a role does NIL play in attracting players and retaining our own players? How well positioned is Penn State for name, image, likeness?
Well, legally, it's not supposed to play any role. You're not supposed to use it as a recruiting inducement. But let me just tell you where Penn State is positioned. Last January, when the portal was, when the kids were moving around, the football program, all 85 scholarship players had deals with Success with Honor. So they were able to retain all those guys and give them NIL opportunities. In fact, athletes from all 31 sports had contracts with Success with Honor. This summer there was a merger. Some of that has changed. So certainly the things that happen from now on are going to be because of what Happy Valley United is able to do and not do, and the kind of money they've been able to raise, because Success with Honor is no longer involved in it. So that's going to be the critical element as you go forward, as to what they've done since the early June when they created the merger and took it over and gave new management to people. And the group that's running it is involved in collectives with 20, 25 schools. How much they focus on Penn State and how much they can get done is going to be really important when you get into this.
And as these things play out, I mean, you kind of hit hurdles along the way, Heather, as we discuss it, getting it up and running and then getting it going and now continuing it. They all look differently. So we'll see as that rolls down the road. Okay, so Ed gets in with a question. Targeting no call on Ohio State and Stover. Should Stover from Ohio State have been called for targeting on the hit that put Chop Robinson out of the game? Jay, you went back and looked at the film.
I went back and looked at the film. It was not Chop. It was not Stover. It was a guy named Mike Jones did a kick-out block. So as he was coming on the kick-out block, Chop Robinson did what we call wrong arm it. And he came in kind of with his shoulder down, his head down, and the two of them collided heads. It's a really incidental thing, just bad luck. I would not.
It's a bang play.
It's a bang play.
It's what happens.
Not targeting at all. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's not. It's part of the game.
Go to number 3, which we have kind of already covered from Carmen from social media. Do you think the performance of Bo Perbola on Saturday should change the thinking at Penn State's quarterback position? I'll put you on the hot seat on this one, Tom.
Put me on the hot seat. There's only so much time during the week, and you've got to really be disciplined on what I'm going to practice, how many plays do I have versus that scout team, and what I want to spend my time on.
And I think from Carmen's point of view, does Bo get a legit shot to start at some point? Is there a quicker hook on Drew Aller against Michigan State? Do you get Bo in the bowl game? So I guess from what he's put on tape, those are all the questions that kind of follow up.
And I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out this week against Michigan State. The turnover with the offense coordinator is going to be critical as well. So it'll make for some very interesting things to watch as we watch the Michigan State game and then ultimately the bowl game.
Yeah, well, what else too? It's a short week.
Yep.
So how much can you really put in a short week? Yep. You're losing a day and you're traveling.
Yeah. Again, this is, it creates a little bit of confusion, but it also creates opportunity. And it's important for Bo to put what he did on tape for anyone else coming in and considering what's going on. And then quickly, Chris asks about Ohio State and Michigan. Penn State has never developed that rivalry game in the Big Ten. Does that matter to building a program, guys? Tom?
I think there's some rivalry games. I know Ohio State, to me, is a rivalry game. Michigan's a rivalry game. I know they tried to build the Michigan State game up to be the rivalry game, but it depends where you are in your season. Hey, if we're both undefeated and we're playing somebody, that's a rivalry game. I don't care. It doesn't have to be a so-called rivalry game. It depends on, hey, they're a good football team. We're a good football team. To me, that's a rivalry game.
So I think the answer is no. You don't necessarily need that particular individual rival every single year.
I think if you go back to when we had Urban Meyer on a couple of weeks ago, he talked about having that benchmark of Michigan and knowing that that's looming. I think Ohio State, for us, for Penn State, that's kind of a benchmark for us. Michigan's a benchmark for us. They don't look at us that way. I think it's good to have that one team that hates your guts, that you hate their guts back. I think that's a plus. We just haven't had that yet.
Well, and I don't know. I'm not sure we're going to get it with the new
No.
scheduling with the Big Ten.
we
We
don't
don't
have a
see
protected
Michigan for
game.
3 years again, so we'll see. And they got Ohio State, and then it goes from there. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes with the new expanded Big Ten. But kind of an abbreviated overtime. We're going to get ready to interview Mike Reed, one of the best Penn State players of all time. I mean, an amazing, amazing resume. Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, in addition to player of the century type of stuff. We just can't wait to talk to Mike Reed. So we appreciate everybody joining us on Nittany Game Week Overtime. Have a happy Thanksgiving weekend. Enjoy all the family, the feast of football, the food, all that good stuff out there. And of course, thanks for watching Nittany Game Week. For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. We'll see you next time.